Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, I am excited once again because we're going to go into the world of screenplays, how to orchestrate one, how do we turn one into a movie, what's the blueprint of becoming a great director and writing a good screenplay. And today, all the way from California, I had to have this beautiful young lady on the show because after looking at some of her movies, screenplays, the whole night, her works, I was just totally blown away, mainly with the message. The thing about a movie and a screenplay, it has to have a message in it. And you have to figure out what that message is, and how how you relate to that determines whether or not, to me, it's going to be that screenplay is going to be turned into a motion picture. It's not my field. It's not my expertise, but I do have someone that this is expertise. I'd like to welcome to the show all the way from California, Miss Kymberly Harris. Welcome to the show, Kymberly.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Man, we could have just kept on and on and on during the pre-interview because your bio is like, wow. It's almost like reading a who's who of the screenplay industry. Tell the viewers a little bit about who you are before we get started.
Well, I'm from Illinois. I'm from the Midwest. And then I was in New York, and now I've been in LA for 10 years. And I was acting and writing plays my whole life. And then I switched to filmmaking. And so I've been directing film and theater now for 6 years, and I've made about a film a year. I'm pretty obsessed with it.
Wow. You say you from the Midwest.
Yeah.
Not that far from where we're at, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Not at all. I'm from Illinois.
Yeah, right. Pretty much neighbors. What was it like growing up in your household? Was your household surrounded by movies, theater, actors? What was it like in your household in Illinois?
Yeah, I mean, I was from Bloomington Normal, which is not Bloomington, Indiana, but Bloomington, Illinois.
Okay.
And is south of Chicago. But my parents were both academics. They were English professors. And my dad, I think he owned this is, DVD day. He owned every DVD, and he was obsessed with movies. So ever since I was really little, I was watching movies that were probably inappropriate to be watching, but I loved them.
I won't ask what kind they were.
Yeah. Just not that inappropriate, but I don't know, I guess he knew that I was always dancing and singing and watching actors, and I had a big imagination. So I guess he knew that I was really into it. So I saw a lot of films, and I was fortunate that my parents, gave me that, I'd get grounded if I didn't read a certain amount of books. I mean, they were very strict about that. And when I hated it then, but when you're an adult and you look back, you go, oh, that was probably a good thing.
What were some of the movies that, now that you look back on, that you kind of looked at yourself now and go, wow, those particular movies or that particular category in motion picture really took me to where I'm at right now?
Well, it's funny because some of them are kind of obscure, Nicholas Roeg and some French films. But what really did influence me a lot was watching the Scorsese, because my dad, we watched all the Scorseses from, his early little independent films up until, the bigger films. And then also Spike Lee. My mom was teaching a film course, and she was teaching She's Gotta Have It and a few of Spike Lee films, and I just became obsessed with his creativity and the way that he told stories. So honestly, those two were the ones that really made an imprint on me when I was really young.
Mhm.
And then I ended up at the Actors Studio MFA program, and so De Niro and Pacino, who had worked with Scorsese, and then my acting coach at the time, Susan Basson, was working with Spike. So it was really weird how these early movie experiences kind of came back into my life when I was in school in New York.
And you've been acting ever since you were 6 years old. How does somebody start acting at 6 years old up into where you at now? Take me down that journey, because that's unheard of. Like, how can you even remember your lines at 6 years old?
It's a great question. I think I was sort of born that way, and I know that some people are, because my son was like that too. He was just, some people just really, they like musicians, like some people are taught and some people just have an ear. But I was just lucky that I wasn't out here in Hollywood at that time, because who knows if we'd even been talking right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in Illinois, so I was just doing musicals, it was pretty safe. And then every high school play, every grade school play, every high school play, every college play, and then started working professionally off Broadway in New York.
How hard is it you're talking about the Midwest, and you're talking about trying to elevate your status in the movie industry, whether it be acting, directing, whatever. How difficult was it for you to make a name in the Midwest, and as opposed to going to California? Was there really that big of a difference?
Well, Chicago is a great art city. I mean, that. I mean, there's amazing theater, musical theater, not a lot of TV and film. Okay. So when I wanted to do plays, I was able to do them there. And then when I got more interested in TV and film, I came out here. But honestly, I was naive to that question you just asked. How does one make it? I never even thought about that. Unfortunately, that's been a late education of the business of it. For me, I've just always just been really driven and passionate, and I have to tell the story. The story is really important, whether I was acting in it or writing it or directing it. And so I never gave a lot of thought to that part, where how does someone make it? It just sort of, I just kept moving forward. and now I'm here. And when you're trying to make movies, you do have to start to think about getting some business people around you, for sure.
What do you like? What do you like more? Do you like the acting? Do you like the creativity side? Do you like the directing, producing? What part of this industry did you gravitate to? Because you started out acting, and let's be real, everybody would love to have that acting career. Give me a part with some ketchup and I'm cool.
Okay. I could absolutely give you a part. You have a beautiful voice. Yes, I could do. Don't even get me started.
So when did you decide that you got to pick one?
Right.
Do you pick your love, and how do you pick which one you want to go with?
Well, I guess, when you're a cute little girl in the Midwest, no one says to you, you can be a director. They go, oh, you could be this. So I'm glad I acted all those years, and I'm glad I learned as much as I did about acting, because I'm passionate about acting. But the second I started directing, I thought, oh no, this is what I like. I like creating the whole story and casting the actors and working with the actors. And I feel more comfortable doing that, strangely, even though I have more than my 10,000 hours as an actor. If you ask me, okay, you have a choice. Do you want to act in this or do you want to direct it? And I get asked that sometimes, and I always say, no, I want to direct it.
Is that easy for you to, like, something you've been doing since you were 6 years old, to say, I don't want to do that. I like directing better?
Yeah. Because when I started coaching actors, so I started working with actors. The person I was telling you about that was working with Spike Lee, Susan Batson, she got called away to work with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in Australia. And I was in her
The Mission Impossible?
It was earlier than that. It was something called Eyes Wide Shut.
I saw that. Really? You trained somebody that got in that movie?
No, my coach was training them.
Oh,
my
wow.
acting coach. The person who was training me was training them. She has influenced me more than anyone in my career. But she had to go to Australia because they were filming there. So she said to me, you're gonna now coach these actors. And I was thinking of myself as an actor. So I thought, well, what do you, she goes, no, you can do it. And I loved it. Once I started.
How do you coach an actor? That's interesting. How do you coach an actor? Tom Cruise is one of my favorite actors. Somebody that was on your social media page is my all-time favorite, which is Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Kevin Spacey, Denzel Washington. Did I leave anybody else out?
Denzel's extraordinary.
How do you coach an actor?
I've coached out here in LA. I've coached on hundreds of TV shows and films that I'm really good. That's something that I love doing. And I think it's because I know acting. I think it would be hard for me if I didn't understand exactly what they were trying to do.
Give me an example, Kim, of a movie and an actor that we know, because I know that particular movie, but a lot of people may not know that. But give me a brand name of somebody that you work with and what movie it was and what you did to them as coaching them as an actor or actresses.
So sometimes I'm not allowed to say, because they don't. It's pride. Like, I'm not allowed to say. People don't mention their acting coaches that much.
Really?
Yeah. But they need them, just like a great athlete needs it, because they're trying to, more embody a whole human life. And so if I were working with you and you were playing, give me a character that you like of Denzel's or anyone.
I like it when he plays Frank Lucas.
Yeah.
I love that. I love Denzel, period. I like the way he doesn't like that he changes the persona. It's like he changes the vocabulary and the way in which he speaks that brings the character. Does that make any sense?
And it's emotional. It makes perfect sense. You're exactly right. So the first thing is, how do you connect?
Right.
How do you connect to Frank? What do you have in common emotionally, right? How do you understand him? And then you build it from there. That's what the good actors do. Is they think of themselves as the character. It's not like the character's here and I'm here, right? It's like, okay, how am I? What's the same and what's different? And then they'll research what's different. So if I'm sure Denzel, knowing his work, I can assume he was out there in the neighborhoods talking to the people that knew Frank. Really understanding what his life is and how he behaved and how people felt about him so it's really just an immersion, helping them immerse themselves so that by the time they get on set, they feel comfortable and they feel like they're talking in Frank's voice.
How long does it take an untrained well, let me rephrase this. Not really untrained because you had to have some type. Let me keep it where it was at. Is it difficult? How difficult is it to work with somebody that isn't at that level as a Denzel Washington or Al Pacino or Robert De Niro?
It's hard. It's hard because I've done that, you know, because my films are independent films still, and so I just want good actors, you know, whether they're everyone knows who they are or not. I just want the right actor, and you know, when you're working with a more experienced actor like Rhonda, who you mentioned you had seen Rhonda's performance in Rose's Turn. So this is a very experienced actor, brilliant. So
Right.
then it's just like jazz, right? Because I can give her an adjustment and she's right there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, when you're working with someone that can't do that, the magic of filmmaking has to come into play.
What do you mean when you say that?
It becomes about editing.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that's only happened to me once. I've been, you know, because my films, I've been able to control the vision because there's not a lot of studio people involved at those budgets. I've been able to hire great actors for all of them, but and I'm not going to say but there was one situation where I could not get the performance and I had to use that actor, and it was hard. It was really hard. And I'm really good at bringing out performance, but
what made it harder? What made it hard with that particular actor or actress?
I think that particular actor was having a really hard time personally. So a lot of what we had prepared wasn't being delivered, and we only had a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned though, Andre, was I will never do that again. I will never just say, well, we just got to hope for the best and let's get it and move so I can stay in my schedule. I would definitely focus on performance, because performance is the most important thing to me. Like, I love actors. I love acting. I love working with actors. So I will never make that mistake again where I think about the producers more than I think about performance.
Who are some of your favorite actors and actresses? You said you love them. You gotta have some of those people in your head as you even dealing with talent itself.
Well, you named some of my. I mean, I had the great fortune of becoming friendly with Al Pacino out here, which was it was like a dream come true, because
Tell me about it.
he was my favorite actor my whole life. And then I started working with a playwright who wrote the film that I'm doing in Italy, and he had directed Alan in a bunch of plays in New York. So I got to, talk with Al, and Al came to see some of my work and was just the sweetest, most generous, lovely person. And he's the real deal. So he's I think he's one of my very favorite actors. I think, when you ask someone like me, so many people, I think Viola Davis is brilliant. Mm. I think Jessica Lange is insane. I think Ryan Gosling is extraordinarily talented. Denzel, anytime he comes on the screen, I'm there. I'm trying to think of some, but there's so many that I'm watching all the time. Samantha Morton, I think some people don't know who she is, but I think she's absolutely brilliant. I think Joaquin Phoenix is a genius.
Oh my God. Him playing the role. I've seen a lot of his movies, from Gladiator to We Run the Nice. I think that's what it was. I gained a lot of respect for him when he transitioned to play the Joker.
Oof.
I was like, oh my God, you're talking about characters. If you read the comic books and stuff, you go, this dude did his due diligence. I mean, no disrespect to the previous person that played that role, but I thought he was spot on spot.
I mean, that movie was this great character study. And what they did is they blended, a superhero with this really deep character study that made us look at ourselves and look at the way we treat people. It was
right.
Brilliant.
Right.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. And I never say that about, I'm not a big superhero movie person.
Right. But what did you take away when you met the great Al Pacino? What did you take away from that, man? And what did he give you after looking at your work?
Well, Mr. Pacino spent a lot of time with me talking about a particular project. He came to see a play I directed out here at the Marilyn Monroe Theater in West Hollywood. And listen, he doesn't have to do that. He comes to see it and he takes all of us out afterwards and he starts telling the young actors about when he was a young actor and when he was auditioning and how he would just do anything just to act. He'd sleep in church basements, he'd sleep in the theater. And when he showed up for auditions, he felt like, I'm great, I get to play the role today. Like he's very sweet and generous and just is a pure artist. He just lives to act. I mean, he's very golden in that way to me. I mean, I just revere and it's so lovely when you meet your heroes and then they end up being really kind and generous, and it was incredible.
What's the difference between, didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm trying to get as much of this in before we have to wrap up. You mentioned some things that clearly I didn't know about. What's the difference between how does films actually begin to evolve? Because we mentioned screenplay. Give the viewers a little bit on how that actually takes place.
So I'm a director writer, so I usually have a story I want to tell, and then I will write a film script, which is called a screenplay. So there's theater scripts, which are plays, and then there's film scripts which are screenplays, and they're written in a certain way. They're written in a certain format. So when people read them, they can envision the film. It's a strange format, but when someone brings me a screenplay and says, "Do you want to direct this?" I'll read it, and then I'll either say no or yes. And then when I write a screenplay, I'm bringing it to other people and saying, can we please make this? And then in my case, I want to direct it, So it's like you said, the blueprint for the movie. And you have to be really precious with that because, again, it's your vision, and you can't let a lot of cooks in the kitchen. How
do you avoid the situation that came up with Sylvester Stallone when he did the Rocky thing? A lot of people don't realize that Rocky thing set as a screenplay and then went from Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's a guy who says, okay, you just stole my life, blah, 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 blah. And how do you as a company owner, a screenwriter, how do you protect this type of stuff?
Well, what he did was he said, unless you let me play Rocky, I'm not going to let anyone make this movie. And he didn't get to, like you say, he didn't get to make it for a long time, but he's trusted his own gut. And that's the advice I give myself every day. And it's also the advice I give anyone that asks me for advice, which is trust that intuition, because, if he has Rocky and he lets someone else act in it and someone change it and someone change it. And then he sees it up on the screen. That's like his dream ruined, but he stuck to his, his own, he knew what it needed to be, and he was right. But it takes a long time for other people to believe in you, until everyone knows who you are or whatever. And it's.
So what made you decide to start your company? And tell me about your company. Is actually what do you guys do, and what was the vision of it?
I started the company when I made my first film because they needed a company to put the financing through. They didn't have it was two independent producers. And I said, well, I've had a theater company, so I'm just going to start my own production company. And it's tiny, it's small, but we've made 3 films through it. And I'm really not, that's not really I hire producers when I make a film because I like to concentrate on the directing and the story. But it worked out great because it's called Firsthand Films because it's like firsthand, like no one's going to tell me I'm going to do my Sylvester Stallone and Rocky with this one. Like no one's going to tell me I can't, no one's going to get in the way. It's firsthand.
Some of you've done some extraordinary screenplays already, and I want to go over these. This is crazy. I like the titles too. The Boy in the Pink Flip-Flops. That's a movie, correct?
Yes. Now I'm directing that movie in Italy, but that's the one that my dear Robert Alan Ackerman, who directed Al, that story I was telling you earlier, he wrote that. He wrote that.
Tell me a little bit about that one. What's it about?
It's about it's actually about a director. It's actually about a film director who had a lot of success, and his partner died and his son died. So he suffered all this loss. So even though he was very successful, he felt really lost. So he goes back to Italy to visit an old friend. And he, without giving it away, because I'm going to make this movie, he does some really distasteful things to different people in the family because he's lost and he's in grief, and then they have to deal with the problems in their friendship, and it's this very masculine Italian man and this director. It's a really great story. I can't wait to do it.
How much of you and your creativity is immersed in this? Because you can see the passion. How much of you and your experiences in this movie right here?
Well, that was the one I had the great pleasure before Robert died of really developing with Robert. So I got some Italian actors, and we did I directed a whole reading with them. And that's the one that Mr. Pacino saw. And that's how we became friends, because he's, of course, Italian. And so it was a lot. I mean, Robert trusted me a lot, and I felt very fortunate because he was a mentor, really. I mean, he had so much experience. So yeah, a lot of me is in it.
Let's go down the list, because I mean, these are some great movies and screenplays. So let's talk about The Apple and The Shady Tree. Interesting title. First, how did that title even come about?
Well, it's funny because you're looking at the projects that I'm attached to, but this was something I wrote the screenplay, but it was based on someone else's book. So,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's okay. It was a very interesting experience. I had never written anything that I wasn't going to direct.
Right.
And I got a job adapting this memoir of this woman, Lisa Novick Goldberg, wrote this really great, heart-wrenching memoir, The Apple and the Shady Tree, about growing up thinking her family was this nice Jewish family in New York, and then finding out that her father was, I mean, it's in the book. I feel like I'm telling a secret, but it's in the book. Her father was in the mob, and yeah, so she had to deal with, wait, what is this? What is real? What is a lie? And the book is really about that. So I got to adapt that into a screenplay, and I would really hope to see that on screen someday soon, because it's a great story.
What about The Man Inside Me?
The Man Inside Me is someone else's movie. My movie, my movie is The Man Inside.
The Man Inside. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get to be my age, and you got to use these, and sometimes they have double vision. Tell me about this one. What's this about?
So it actually has a different title now, but it's a screenplay I wrote that happily, when you're writing something, you don't know if anyone's going to get it. And so I sent it out, and it won a lot of screenplay awards. It's about a young man from a very working class family with a lot of challenges and struggles, who happened to be a brilliant sculptor. So he can sculpt anything, and he gets a scholarship to college. And when he gets there, he's around all these very privileged kids, and it's sort of about that, what is art, what is an artist, what is talent, how, what part of it really helps someone. And he ends up having the same kind of feelings as the dean of the art department, who is who has had a bad marriage, and she's a great photographer. So the dean and the student end up having an affair, and I won't tell you anymore.
No, don't tell me no more about that.
Yeah, but that's that movie happening. I don't care what I can't wait to make that movie.
How hard is it, before we wrap up? And thank you so much for taking the time. I know you had a busy day yesterday, and I'm not going to keep you too long. I don't want to keep you sleep deprived. Explain to me the struggles for an independent artist, and what actually is an independent artist, and how hard is it for you as an independent artist?
I mean, I love that question. I think it's a choice, because I think anyone can learn how to, approach the work in certain formulas that are multi-billion-dollar franchises. And then, or you can choose to try to tell these really personal stories. And I don't think one is better than the other. I just am more inclined towards the really personal stories and trying to say something about the world that I see around me. And so I know it's harder, because for a lot of reasons, but I don't agree with all the reasons, because I know, I mean, even talking to you, which Denzel do you like? The, American Gangster, the Frank Lucas, that's a personal story. I mean, that's not some, and everyone loves it. And, sometimes people have opinions that we, the audience, don't want to connect on a personal level, but that's really why we go to the movies. I think it's hard. I think being a filmmaker or a director or an artist of any kind has a lot of challenges, but you either, sometimes you just can't help it. There's nothing else. You're going to keep going no matter what. And that's who I am. Like I have to tell these stories. I love it so much. I love actors. I love working with actors. I love cinematographers. I mean, what am I going to do, Andre?
I've seen, even like we talked about, even the trailer that I looked at, and I'm gonna tell you, I was talking to Valerie. I told you she's a stunt woman for Hollywood, and I was sharing with her, just looking at that one trailer, where the actress said, you know, come to order or something like that. But it wasn't just that caught my attention. What really caught my attention were key words in that particular piece, and it was self-awareness. Everything always changes. Everything always changes. Heartfelt, heartbroken. You don't want to feel that way about me. And this was in a few seconds that kind of like, wow, this is deep. When you wrote when you did that particular piece, what was going through your mind?
I had just moved to New York from, Illinois,
Mhm.
and I had never seen homelessness right in front of me like that.
Okay.
I mean, everywhere around. And I just started, it was really scary and sad, and so the play really came out of me empathizing with, this woman that I kept seeing and seeing and seeing.
Kymberly,
And then,
real quick, what was the trailer so the viewers can go check it out?
yeah, that film is called Rose's Turn, and I know
Okay.
it's streaming on Amazon
Okay.
for sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so proud of that movie because it came from a play, and then I just love the actors involved. And everyone involved. It's a great piece. Yeah, but it really was the kernel of it. Was I was trying to figure out, well, that could be me. Like,
Right.
Why is she there and I'm not? And I was poor. I was a student. I was an artist. She seemed like an artist, like this actual homeless person. Like she had like scars, but she was clearly homeless.
Right.
And it just, I don't know. I just wanted to write about her, get into her head.
Believe me, you got in more than just her head. You got into mine because
Oh,
I'm really love movies, and I like to analyze. I can watch a movie about 8 to 9 times because there's always something you're going to miss. That, and I tell people, they say, why you watch movies over and over again? I say, because there's always something that you miss. Like maybe it be a word or something, but you need to watch it more than once. I watched that trailer like 3 times and was almost in tears just for the words of empowerment, because it kind of puts you into those people's space for that brief moment of time. I was like, man, this is like really good. How can the viewers reach out to you and support what you're doing and be a part of your mission?
well, first of all, I want to just capture what you just said and as a review, because it was so beautifully said and it means so much to me. Yeah, I have 3 films, Rose's Turn, Faith, and I Heard Sarah, are streaming. Kymberly Harris, I think it's .me website. And they can reach out to me there, KymberlyHarris.me. You can say, let's connect. And I'm always developing projects. If anyone wants to come on and produce something, they should absolutely reach out. And, lots of stuff going on. So
Now, do they have to come all the way to California, or do you commute back and forth if somebody has a great idea?
oh, sure. Yeah, I'll travel. I travel for work all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
I love going other places and working. I love that, actually.
I tell you what, Kymberly, I appreciate you taking your time to be on the show, sharing your work. Is beautiful. I know that these movies are going to touch a whole lot of individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.